Desculpa, Baby Caio. E obrigado, Testas Chuvosas, pelos 26 meses. Eu faço isso também, Henrique. Eu escuto podcasts antes de dormir. E aí o podcast, tipo, tem 1 hora e ele dura 1 semana. Eu só escuto os primeiros 15 minutos, durmo. E assim consecutivamente, até o fim da vida. Assim, te dizer que eu tô com vontade de começar o jogo do começo mesmo, mas talvez seja melhor só jogar o No Return mesmo aqui. Ou quem sabe jogar os capítulos novo aí, os capítulos chururu. Ele não importou meu save de speedrun. Posso jogar o Lost Levels também, né? O que é esse faca na caveira aqui? Desafio Ah, morte permanente. Esse aqui, vamos... A platina é igual a do outro, ele importa os troféus. Porra, ele não tá importando meus troféus. Meus troféus todos. Triste. 103, 204, vamos... Porque aí, jogando É verdade, deixa eu trocar na live aqui. Porque aí, jogando a campanha, eu posso colocar os comentários, né? Mas eu posso ver as fases perdidas também. Será que é rápido? Vamos ver. Festa em Jackson. Pré-alpha inacabado, refletindo seu estado de quando foi cortado do jogo originalmente. O nível não contém diálogo falado, apenas falas temporárias mostradas como legendas. Você lembra... Quer dizer, pra quem ouviu o Dash, lembra que a gente... falou disso aqui. Dessa cena cortada. Que acontece...
You're about to play
Eita.
an unfinished level from The Last of Us Part 2.
Cadê a legenda? Surprise News, Druckmann.
The reason we added this section
Não, quero legenda.
is there are a few sequences, and we picked the 3 of the best ones, that we cut from the game. You know, often we build a game that's much bigger than what ends up being the final product. They were months away from being finished, but we wanted to give you an insight of what it's like when we built the game, because often we have this whole thing constructed and it doesn't have final art or audio or dialogue. And here you get to see the building blocks of what it's like when we first string a bunch of these levels together. This is the intro to the first deleted level, and this one is the roughest of the 3. We wanted to show more of how Jackson operates. So this is the festival where Ellie ultimately kisses Dina. This sequence would have come very late in the game as a flashback sequence while you're in the farm with Dina. And we wanted to show what is the rest of Jackson doing, and wanted to put on the stick, make it interactive. So you could see when you're outside, there are all these almost like carnival games that you can play. You could mix drinks, you could play with these kids that are playing a sort of clicker Marco Polo, sit down and listen to conversations, and all the different interactions were first or second pass, very, very early passes. The building blocks are there, but nothing is final. And ultimately, while we were very excited by this sequence, it's pretty fun and lighthearted. It just slowed things too much as we're barreling towards the end of the story at this point.
Me parece erro realmente ter esse pedaço no jogo final.
Animation, missing gameplay tweaks, missing dialogue.
Acho que eles fizeram certo em cortar.
So, enjoy.
Que isso? Ah, tá, a mão. Entendi. Ela tava tremelicando ali. E bebe, hein? E bebe. Oh, como bebe. Rita, achei que era clickers de verdade mesmo. Deixa eu ativar a legenda.
Originally, this level was going to transition us to farm. We would go all the way through to the dance, where Ellie and Dina share their first kiss. Then we would play through farm, and when Ellie plays the guitar at night, she would remember the Seth incident. So, the opening for this was a little tricky. We needed it to match at least a little what you might expect emotionally coming from prior beats, because we were already purposefully disorienting you in time and space. Remember, you just came from this huge fight. To jump straight into it would have been a little too jarring. After some back and forth, we rooted it in Ellie's nerves, calling back to her hands shaking in the theater. But this time, for a much more innocuous reason we'll find out later. She's nervous because she has a crush on Dina, who is the only reason why she's here at the dance. Something we really wanted to do was highlight the way their lives had turned upside down since she went down this path. We had this idea of recontextualizing all of our usual gameplay mechanics that were designed for really violent ends. The workbench, door bashes, throwable weapons, and even the infected, which is my personal favorite. Peppered throughout the level are moments of levity or shared history, all the while seeing how happy and mundane they all were before her huge revenge odyssey. It is not a festival without one of these throwing games. This one, of course, uses our throwable system where you're often chucking explosive things or stunning things, but for a more wholesome purpose, although some people take this game really seriously. A fun aspect of this is if you did well, you could win a toy here. Ellie would place it in her pocket. If you had done this, you'd find the toy with JJ, the baby, later back at the farm. When we cut this, the toy made it through anyway because it was so cute.
O elefantinho,
It's
né?
the same one you see on the tractor at the farm. Ollie the elephant.
Com a diferença de que quando tem esses negócios nesse festival, assim, as garrafas são tipo 30 quilos. Pra você nunca conseguir derrubar uma garrafa. As garrafas são de chumbo maciço. Paredes invisíveis nos meus videogames. Ou são coladas, ó.
This is one of my favorite sections because I think that it achieves both the slice of life aspect of Jackson while also being a stark reminder of how dark the world that they live in.
E realmente aí parece a animação. Eles não fizeram a animação de uma criança, eles só colocaram a animação do bicho na criança mesmo, parece. Ou pelo menos parece.
We tried a version where if you got close enough, the kid might try and follow you a little before turning back. Since clickers are blind and move by echolocation, for this game of messed up tag, Ellie must close her eyes and listen for when the children give themselves away. The thought was that these kids are in relative safety. They still grow up with the dangers of clickers and runners, and all those lessons would embed themselves in the games that they play. When the festival got cut, they tried to preserve this moment and move it to the front of the game where the snowball fight is, as a tutorial. However, being in the headspace of a clicker doesn't really teach you how to deal with them. Eventually, it evolved, and they instead made the snowball fight, which was, I think, way more effective. For me, it's character illuminating that not only does Ellie know this game, she plays along. There's a familiarity with the kids that's really nice to see, especially because it's such a difference from the Ellie we see later, who has a sort of hollow normalcy that she's trying to get with JJ, but kind of fails.
Cadê o comando da criança? Não tem a ação? Ok. Ih, pegou. Não é assim que faz, ele é faquinha no pescoço. Ah, não! Ah, não! Ah, risos, risos. Ok, ok. Interessante. Interesting. quebra o pescoço com a força do hábito, imagina. Seria outra história. Altos papo. Red Dead fez melhor. Fura fila do caralho. Yeah! Esse aqui eu ouvi? Acho que não.
We use our workbench a lot to make a lot of things that kill and maim and hurt people. Here, we had the silly idea of using the same feel, harkening back to the same animations, using the exact same UI to instead fix a drink. Like the workbench, you could pick your base, and then you could add something to it. And at the time, we had some different reactions from Ellie based on how strong you chose to make the drink.
Wow.
Something we wanted to prototype, though, before it got cut, was picking up some ingredients around to add, like a lime or maybe a bottle of someone's favorite whiskey or salt, like you were earning upgrades. We also toyed with having Ellie carry around the drink you made and occasionally sip it, psyching herself up to go talk to Dina inside because she's nervous. It got too noodly, though, because she would need to keep placing it somewhere before she did anything. So it would have ended up more trouble than it was worth.
E aí você teria a opção de beber tantos drinks que quando você chega na cena lá, você vomita na Dina. Dá uma vomitadinha. De leve. Maria.
There's a hidden spot at the back that was just a bit of fun. It was highlighting Jackson's normalcy with something we would find in a real world. In the back, you would find teenagers finding some alone time with each other in a dark corner of a party. It was rewarding the player for peeking into a hidden corner, but ultimately redirecting them back to the festival. We also had versions of them smoking weed here, despite Maria's consternation, probably having gotten it from Eugene.
Maçonha. O do Eugene, eles não... Quer dizer, a morte do Eugene é tão recente assim? Na minha cabeça, o Eugene já tinha morrido há algum tempo. É que a pessoa pode ter comprado muita maçonha, né? Ter guardado, ter retraficado, etc. Eu sou Tommy. Eu abro porta. Entra aí, porra. Tá aí. Esgoto de Seattle. Quando você cai no rio, né? Você é levado lá. É um pedaço bem curtinho mesmo, que você já sai na... Pô, não tem legenda?
An extended sequence of the sewers in Seattle. This comes on the heels of where Ellie goes into a building and she survives an attack by stalkers and gets thrown out of a window and gets swept away by the current. And then we cut this section that used to be there in the final game. Now you will get to play it. So this was a way to get a bit more interesting puzzles, interesting traversal, figure out how Ellie can navigate the sewers with the fighting current. Ultimately,
eu acho, infelizmente não. Já vimos o documentário. Mas agora estamos no começo, quer dizer... Estamos aqui.
In this very kind of raw form that part of it will feel finished, parts of it will feel like assets are missing as far as audio, animation won't be final, but it's a glimpse into what a game looks like when it's months away from finishing. Enjoy.
Tá sem legenda. Vou ficar ligando a legenda? Sempre. Porra, é essa? Podia ter morrido ali, né? Um perigo, se pega no olho. Se pega no cucuruto. era melhor só ter concluído essas partes adicionais do Remastered? Eu acho que... Pera, você fala adicionado ao jogo? Não, porque, tipo, adicionado ao jogo... Eles tiraram por um bom motivo, né? Ia prejudicar o ritmo do jogo final. E finalizar essas partes, pô, teria que chamar ator pra gravar coisa. Tipo, tem várias coisas aqui que são sistemas complexos, né? Ia ser um puta trabalho a mais aí. Seria legal, mas acho que pelo preço que eles estão cobrando, tipo, que é $10 pra você ter não só o remaster, como esses 3 coisas que com certeza teve que dar uma finalizadinha, né? Pra eles funcionarem, pra estar pelo menos o que tem aqui safo pra jogar, mais comentários dos desenvolvedores e tudo mais, mais o modo roguelike, por $10 eu acho que tá ok. Acho que se eles fossem finalizar isso daqui, eles cobrariam mais. Ih, rapaz.
This level, internally known as Fine Nora, was quite long in duration as we had to make Ellie traverse a far distance to the opposite side of downtown Seattle. The sewer section was originally longer than what we released the game with, approximately 10 minutes more. This was one of the few areas of the game that used water flow as part of a traversal puzzle. The player has to go upstream to use the current to get to the platform to reach the other side. We mostly cut this mechanic game-wide, however it remained in essence in the section swimming to the aquarium as Ellie when you were avoiding the waves.
Verdade.
When players reach the doorway and enter into the room, they're faced with a dead end. The real reason for this dead-end room is that on the reversal, when exiting back out of the doorway, players are faced with the route onwards. A pipe that they'd not been able to see when they were swept past it on the way in, and something that was hidden from view when on the side platforms. The intention here being that the only option is to go off the standard path in order to search for a way out.
Get me the hell out of here.
Throughout the rest of the level, we also used light to indicate to the player that they were heading in the right direction. At each turn, however, we blocked the direct route forward. Players would know that they just have to keep finding alternative paths, promoting those feelings of being desperate and trapped. We slowly introduced the player to consider climbing into smaller pipes and crouching in these tight spaces.
Up and out.
This is to slowly build up
Keep
to
going up
and
and out.
encourage the player to climb into such a small pipe that they'd have to be crawling on their stomach, which is something that the player previously may not have recognised as a playable space, let alone the desired route they need to take. We added a tiny space just to reward the player's exploration with a pickup item, and we made sure it was something that made sense that you'd find in this area. A canister and all the garbage that had been washed into the sewers from the surface.
Poder tudo podia ser de graça, né?
We love the idea of making Ellie prone through a tiny dirty pipe in order to get out, as it was a great opportunity.
Mas acho que pelo volume de coisas novas que eles estão oferecendo, $10 me parece ok.
As the standard prone camera is much higher above the player, we also created custom collision in order for Ellie to maneuver in these tight spaces easily. Initially, the oblong collision capsule around her character caused issues crawling around corners.
É o Molotov que tem efeito moral além do fogo.
Experience is as smooth as the main game. In order for the player to feel cramped, claustrophobic and desperate, we'd been enforcing the traversal mechanics that allow for a tight environment which promote these feelings. We introduced the use of the squeeze through so that we can keep the player feeling enclosed and tight, but without repeating the same geometry. Here we change from low ceilings with wider walls to high ceilings and tight walls to change up the spatial pacing and keep the level from repeating itself.
Te faz pensar em level design.
Waterline much higher here, so players had to swim through this tight tunnel. However, from watching user test feedback, it was occasionally causing people to discount the route entirely and turn back on themselves. So to avoid any risk of this happening in the final game, we present a lower water level so the tunnel is easy to see and commit to using. Although this isn't as impactful without the prone swim, it's the better decision as it means a smoother experience for the player with no backtracking frustration. We draw the player towards this pipe as it is seemingly the route out of the tight space. Fairly soon it is obvious that this path is blocked. If the player goes all the way up to the bars that block the path, they are rewarded with a pickup so this journey doesn't feel wasted. It is important to encourage the player to try to progress along this path so that they would subtly think of progress in this direction. We hint to the player that there is a bigger, new space beyond this pipe by showing the player the waterfall. This helps players consider the other route that they don't know how far the tunnel is or whether they'd make it.
De PS3 pro PS4 não foi de graça, não. É outro jogo. Não tem como. Não tinha nem como esse upgrade de $10. Era um jogo novo completo, assim.
A clicker that sprouted and fungus has grown on the sides of the pipe. It was great to see people who user tested this area becoming increasingly worried as we forced the player to squeeze past the fungus and inches away from the clicker's face, all the time not being sure whether the clicker might be alive or attack them. Although we aren't as cruel as to force a clicker attack in such close proximity, we do have a payoff for this moment. This clicker momentarily turned into Joel to show Ellie's PTSD from what happened to Joel at the start of the game. Ultimately, we decided to save this moment for the farm level, as it was more impactful there because it could become the centerpiece of that experience. Whereas in the sewers, we weren't able to make it as much of a narrative point.
Aí ia ficar meio descolado.
Reaction time
Exato.
Given the tight space.
Concordo com o desenvolvedor. Se eles conseguissem justificar por que nesse momento ela estaria tendo essa reação, seria legal, mas considerando o jogo final, ia ficar meio deslocado.
For the final section, we eventually opened you out into a wider area as you traverse through such tight spaces leading up to this. So changing the environmental pacing makes it begin to feel like we're coming to the end of Ellie's ordeal. An earlier iteration used the current that we'd shown at the start for a slightly tougher traversal puzzle to conclude the sewers. The ladder was clearly visible from most of the area, but the player was faced with a fast-flowing torrent of water they couldn't cross. If the player attempted to jump into the water, they were not able to swim across the ladder due to the water's speed. But instead, they had to traverse the pipe running along the top of the space in order to get across the water.
Esse aqui já é o que tá no jogo, né? Esse pedaço aqui é o pedaço do esgoto que tem no jogo. Você passa aqui. A primeira vez que eu joguei, eu fiquei, tá muito cheio de musgo isso aqui, vai escorregar.
Using this pipe was retained in the iteration we shipped with, as it's the last of the extreme methods Ellie has to undergo in order to escape.
Puta, na vida real não ia ser impossível passar por esse cano. Vou escorregar. Aí aqui já sai no metrô? Ah, não. Aqui já é o final da área.
The last ladder climb is quite lengthy.
Ih, toca a Snake Eater.
Trimmed it down to a shorter climb. We liked how this last segment of the journey built anticipation for whether there was success at the top or not after all you've been through. Ultimately, the ladder exits out into the subway station, which is how it connects to the final game. Ellie then has to find her way to the hospital from here, crossing paths with the scars for the first time.
Aqui já é o metrô que dá no parque lá, que você enfrenta os serafitos pela primeira vez, aquela coisa toda. Isso. Esse aqui é o outro que a gente falou sobre no podcast, né? Que... deixa eu tentar colocar a legenda nas opções, porque... A gente ouve falar sobre esse pedaço da história só no diário da Ellie. Aqui é bastidores, né? Pô, não vai ter a introdução do Neil Druckmann? Surprise Neil Druckmann? Foda. Ah, não. Acho que vai ter.
For this third and final deleted level, what we call the boar hunt sequence, this was a sequence pretty late in the game. It was right after the whole Seattle Abby sequence where Abby spares Ellie. And then we wanted to come back into Ellie's story, but keep it a bit mysterious of how much time has passed, where is Ellie now? So we're coming in on Ellie and she's following a trail of blood. And we wanted to mirror in a way the deer hunt sequence from the first game, but this time do it with a boar.
Cachorro.
And there's something with Ellie that now she can't let go of this violence. She's pursuing it even against this innocent animal. This was another opportunity to show how the violence that Ellie has experienced, the violence that she witnessed being afflicted onto Joel, is still sticking with her, and she's still experiencing these PTSD moments. This was a sequence that was pretty far along and was cut pretty late in production. Parts of it are still really rough, but the gameplay, the building blocks were all there. I think you'll have fun to see, like, again, a rough, unfinished sequence that you can play. You can see all the way to the end, and including a cinematic that we end up cutting. And the remnants of the sequence ended up being mentioned in Ellie's journal. So this part of the story that we developed still made its way into the game as kind of optional stuff that you could read about, but here you get to experience it. So as a reminder, this is pretty rough, months away from being finished, but you get to see it now.
Ganhei um pote de pé de moça. Putz, nossa, não me fala não. Aqueles pé de moça do...
Where are you?
Qual que era? Aquele da embalagem vermelhinha? Porra, bom demais, nossa. Perdi um diálogo? Tinha um... Ah, tinha ali mesmo.
So the boar hunt was one of the hardest levels for me to work on. It was a huge challenge with the systems that we had, and we kept trying, but it never felt quite right.
Where's the blood?
Originally, the level happened after the Jackson Festival, which also got cut, but before Farm. Once the festival got cut, it became the prologue to Farm. The intended experience is that we jump forward in time after the fight with Abby in the theater.
Where is it?
We don't know where Dina is. We likely assume she's dead because she was just bleeding out. Ellie is alone. Her hair is short. So maybe this is the future or the present. And she's hunting. Hunting who? Abby still?
Essas... vamos ver, né? Mas aqui é foda, né? Porque a essa altura do jogo, muita gente já tá assim, porra, esse jogo não vai acabar, não. Já tá achando o jogo bem longo, né? Mas assim, pensando no que ela traria pra experiência, essa daqui das três, pelo menos, é a que mais me parece que faria falta.
In early iterations of the fight, it was more arena-like. The player slowly whittles down the boar's health. Ellie gets more visceral and more vicious. We get a little worried about her. As the boar gets weaker, more panicked, more feral, and we start feeling sympathetic to the boar was the hope. In all of these iterations, especially of these wider areas, it required custom AI and scripting to make sure it continued to feel organic as an animal, but we really needed it to do specific stuff. It needed to be able to close distances really, really quickly. It needed to charge to attack, but we wanted the feeling of hunting, so we needed to track it down from afar. And we also needed to discourage the player from attacking the boar when it's that close, or it would kind of turn into this melee kerfuffle. How do we do this in our world while keeping the boar believable?
E por isso a gente cortou. Basicamente é o que ela tá dizendo. Mas realmente lembra muito a cena da caçada no primeiro, né?
We must have gone through 5 or 6 iterations of the boar fight and all, and every single time it changed pretty drastically. We split it into clear phases, where one was like all long range. We tried another where you're getting close and you get the jump on it quite literally. You're jumping off of a rock to attack it. And then finally, we tried a bunch where you almost sort of go around a bunch of trailers and try and wrestle it. We uncovered after some time that taking down a boar over several phases felt very laborious and a little dramatic. It was comically long. It felt too boss-like, a little too gamey. We decided to cut the first few phases, and we opted for a cold open after the boar had already been hurt off screen. So that allowed us to focus on feeling like we're closing in on prey and to introduce the boar when it was at its most dangerous. Already hurt, already feral, much too close for comfort.
Ah, tá.
And so the thinking was it would bring us more into Ellie's mindset. Is this really hunting for food, or is she hunting for some other reason?
Eu até achei que não teria o javali.
The gas station was built to highlight the boar's destructiveness. Since it's cramped, the boar feels larger. We also feel trapped with it, though perhaps it's trapped with us. When it charges, it gets to us quickly, so we must be on our toes. This made it more aligned with Ellie's sort of hunting for trouble mindset. Listening became more important, as well as moving around slowly so it didn't hear you. Could you spot it before it saw or heard you? And could you get a shot off quickly enough so you could dodge out of the way? Or is the shot worth the cost after? It feels like a gamble. By the end of the fight, everything would likely be in shambles. The boar would burst through the back, and Ellie would follow it and finally enact revenge.
Nowhere to run.
O pobre do cachorro.
The boar kill was supposed to be anything but glorious. With the boar whimpering at the back of the gas station after Ellie's relentless hunt. After this, hearing the drone that we kind of come to associate with Ellie's trauma, we would hard cut.
É porque o que ela fala no diário é que eu cacei um javali hoje quando eu tava matando ele, ouvindo ele grunhir. Eu lembrei do Joe, né? Aquela coisa toda. Essa cena eu não sei. Tipo, eu acho que talvez ela... O motivo principal dela ter sido cortada é que tava muito difícil de fazer a caçada ficar interessante dentro das mecânicas do jogo e menos pelo... Porque as outras, tipo, isso aqui ia ficar longo demais, ia afetar o ritmo e tal. Porque eu gosto da ideia de quando você volta pra fazenda, você primeiro não entender onde você tá, que é o que acontece no jogo final. Quando ela chega lá, aí ele caçou um coelho, né? É justamente quando volta pra fazenda. No jogo final tem a cena que começa com ele lavando a cara num riachozinho assim, aí ela tá com o coelho caçando assim, e aí ela vai pra fazenda. Aí essa cena seria logo antes disso. Ou no lugar dessa, né? Então eu gosto dessa ideia de você, tipo, putz, quando que é isso? O que tá acontecendo? Onde que eu tô? Né? Tipo, logo depois da luta contra a Abby, corta pra essa parte, né? Eu gosto dessa ideia, dessa desorientação. Mas ao mesmo tempo, tipo, você tem essa desorientação no jogo final, apesar de que é mais rápido. E a parada com o javali tá no diário, né? Então você tem a ideia, por mais que, sei lá, né, nem todo mundo lê o diário. Mas eu acho que em outros momentos já mostra esse PTSD dela, né? Eu acho que na cena com o JJ no celeiro é até melhor, assim, mais bem mostrado. Aí fica talvez repetitivo, né? E pra um momento do jogo que acho que muita gente já tava meio de saco cheio. E talvez tenha sido melhor cortado mesmo. Bastidores. Ok. Achei que ele ia ter o... Ah, tem, ó. Agora tem. Era isso, provavelmente, que era o... Legal, que tá aqui no pacote completo. Aqui tá... o Grounded 2, o documentário. Vai ver, é isso mesmo que veio no update. Duas dessas 3 cenas são praticamente no mesmo momento, pois é. Meio estranho ela ver o Joe no javali, mas não nas pessoas que ela mata. Mas aí é parte do argumento do jogo, né? Essa outrificação, né? Essa desumanização do inimigo pra conseguir matar, né? E aí ela vê o Joe num inimigo, no caso o javali. Nesse momento da história faz mais sentido, né? Porque é depois do que aconteceu, de tudo que aconteceu, num momento onde ela já tá tentando viver uma vida mais humana, né? Ela não tá necessariamente no modo assassina. Né? Eu acho que faz sentido. Dentro dessa história. Será que essas coisas estariam no Grounded? E já que foi cancelado, está aí agora? Como assim? Os momentos cortados? Não sei. Acho que eles não me parecem tão importantes pra ser citado no documentário, assim. Porque com certeza tem muito mais coisa que foi cortada, né? E nada desse tipo de coisa é citado muito no documentário. Pô. Que vontade, hein, de jogar aqui. Eu jogaria sem New Game Plus. Pra ir pegando as armas aos pouquinhos, hein? Que gostoso. E aí eu jogo num personalizado aqui pra poder fazer altas estripulia. Sem ficar me preocupando muito com morrer. Vou colocar aqui. Esse aqui fica no... Ó, esse aqui pode ser assim. E o resto... Pode ser assim. Que gostoso. Permadeath, não. Não. Eu... Tô de boa. Permadeath. Agora, eu quero o modo comentário. Como é que eu ligo os comentários? Tava ligado? Dublagem em japonês. Então, peraí. Ligado. Voltar.
Hi, I'm Neil Druckmann, and I was the director and co-writer.
Hi, my name is Hallie Gross, and I was the co-writer and narrative lead.
I'm Ashley Johnson, and I play Ellie.
Hi, I'm Troy Baker, and I played Joel.
This whole scene came about because we were trying to figure out how do we recap the previous game just enough for people that haven't played it, or might not have been so many years they don't even remember.
Olha que eu já li tanto, já ouvi tantos podcasts com essas pessoas que isso tudo aí pra mim é repetido já. Já sei toda a história por trás dessa cena.
I do not agree with this, and it's such a problem.
Já ouvi o Troy falando sobre como ele discordava com
this was a secret that Joel was going to take to his grave, and he would just bear this sin. And it wasn't until we were on set, and I'm sitting across from Jeffrey, and I'm watching him just listen to Joel.
Acho top, Henrique. Quero.
We went deeper and got better, and more truth came out.
It's really small, but you're right, it's really powerful and intimate of this exchange between these brothers, of just how far they've come since he's rejoined Jackson.
Yeah. It's become one of my favorite scenes. The meticulousness of this task of fixing up a guitar. And I remember you saying specifically is like, you're really trying to get the grime out. And to me, how that mapped to what he's trying to do in this scene with this conversation is I'm just trying to get every last bit of dirt out.
In the original game, we didn't cut to a close-up of Joel and seeing like what was his emotional state coming into that operating room.
That look from Tommy.
What do you do?
I love this right here. I
Saved her. Bora,
We
Yosh.
wanted some darkness around that statement of like, the implication is I did whatever I needed to do to get her out of there.
And the justification, you know, that comes from that.
That is the central question, right? And I think that opening the game on that line is so important because Joel really does believe he saved her. And that's the question for Ellie throughout the game of, did he?
I remember just so much work we did on this soundscape right here of just leaving you with that kind of uncomfortable feeling of there was a good thing, but there was definitely a lot of darkness around it. It's a great scene for Tommy as well. And now he has to carry the weight of this thing that his brother did. Right now he's not feeling great about it.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
He's also a family guy, so on some level he gets it.
Ele é do Family Guy? Uau.
Obviously he knows what Joel has been through and why
Legal.
that decision was so
Sabia,
important
não?
for him.
I told her they just ran some tests.
Bem realístico, né? Eu imaginava um estilo mais cartunesco, assim.
There's something to me that hits me every time when Ellie rolls over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I caught it as much. I think I was aware of it. Like, Neil, you being a parent, you're more familiar with some of those gestures than I was, or I am now. Traveler will do this, where he will, when I put him to bed or whatever, and he's ready to go to sleep, or he needs to be alone with his own thoughts, he'll do that turn. And it never really hit me that that's what Ellie is doing.
Queria dizer aqui... já tem alguém no chat falando. Traveler não é o nome do filho do Troy Baker. Isso é uma coisa que eu comecei a reparar. Algumas pessoas famosas, quando vão falar do filho, usam um nome fake, né? Pra não expor a criança.
Is just, okay, I'm done talking about this now. I just kind of want to be private in my own thoughts.
Which is also an interesting juxtaposition that's happening here, is we're getting to see the moment he was lying to her while he's confessing the truth to his brother. And the differences in those two relationships now. And it's, despite how much they've been through and how much Ellie has become an equal of sorts, he still sees her as his child. And if he has to lie to her to protect her, he will. It was important to get this final handoff of playing as Joel one last time as this beautiful sunset ride towards Jackson before we fully kind of hand off the baton to Ellie.
Troy Baker tem filho, sim. Ela tá com o violão nas costas. Se apontar e dedilhar, sai laser, que nem no Death Stranding. Olha esse remaster. Que diferença gráfica incrível. Uou! O que eu achei do documentário? Massa. Mas... O documentário da Double Fine estragou o mundo dos documentários de jogos. O cavalo muito pica, né? Ele desce cachoeira. Não é o making of do Karateka.
We worked so hard on these transitions to go from cutscene to gameplay. And it was just a change in tech that we had from the first game to the second game, where the first game, all the cinematics were pre-rendered. Now that they were real time, there was a lot of effort put into just these seamless transitions in and out of gameplay.
About what we were talking about earlier.
This is a great moment.
I can't say I'd have done different.
Bom,
And you have to wonder, is Tommy telling the truth? Or does he know it's too late to do anything about it? And that's the best truth to put out there.
There's also something, it's just occurring to me now, but I think confessing to Tommy really speaks to sort of the themes of the game of how hard it is to be alone and to carry things alone. And even Joel can't do it at a certain point and needs to unload on Tommy. And so what it is for Ellie to isolate further and further and further and carry her secrets alone more and more and more.
te faz pensar.
There's her little house.
I discovered some people don't realize that her house is the
garage.
Exterior garage of Joel's house.
Look, she's drawing a deer. Oh, and you're hearing Sean James' song, which was the song we did for the teaser trailer.
Ellie?
Shout out to the environment team that had to build several different versions of this room, as Ellie has lived in it for longer and longer. And
O que eu comecei a jogar agora?
Items from the old world that she's obsessed with.
Lava lamp.
I love this moment of just like, hey, how do you...
Jesus.
Do you both remember when we did this scene live on stage, just for an audience of 100, 200 people? I forget exactly. Like Jeff Keighley set up this one night live, and I wrote the scene just for that. But in the back of my mind, I knew already this would be the opening for the second game.
Oh, yeah. And that was...
Talking about how impressed they are.
Some of that was streamed except for this scene. That was just for the audience.
We did not stream the scene.
There was this, I remember...
O cinto, vai contar a história do cinto.
We got it, and then, as often happens, there's a team of people that kind of come up to you.
Vai falar da história do cinto.
And after you go, cut, best that one. That's a take we can go with. And people just kind of clouded around you, and there was a conversation that was happening. We were trying to figure out what it was, and I saw you do your, everything's okay, it's fine, it's fine. And then afterwards, you tell me this story that in Uncharted 3, the ship capsizing was one of the most resource-draining, almost game-breaking things that you guys, one of the most ambitious set pieces you'd ever done.
Colocou o dedo no negócio do cinto.
And then in the Left Behind DLC, the photo booth was one of those resource-draining, almost game-breaking things. He goes, up until you decided to put your thumb in your belt loop.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so actually that's funny because you did that, Joel initially didn't have his shirt tucked in. But in order to honor, again, this little gesture that you did, redesigned his clothing. And the way we did clothing on this game is we actually sourced the actual material and scanned it. So we had to source the shirt, the pants, the belt, scan it, so we could do this one gesture that you did, which was like looping your thumb around your belt.
Trust in you.
from a writing standpoint, this was a tricky scene because we have to reestablish these characters and their relationship, but also show there's something hanging over them. That there's, we had to honor the ending of the first game, that moment of okay, of lie, that again, Ellie knows something is off, but she doesn't quite know how to deal with it or how to move past it. Right, so this scene has like, you see at the beginning, she's trying to get rid of him, and then he wins her over by playing the song, and like she softens by the end of it. And it's interesting, they talk about of like, you promised you would teach me how to play the guitar, and they're talking about like promises and oaths and the idea of keeping your promises. And we know this lie is hanging over them.
I love this opportunity this song gives Ellie to watch him.
Yeah.
Without confrontation.
And again, there's so much beautiful acting that you're doing here, Ashley. I know these compliments are making you uncomfortable, but it's like, look how much she's processing.
Yeah.
You could see it. You could feel it. And again, talking about when characters make eye contact versus not, it's like only when he finishes that he finally allows himself to look up.
Barely.
Barely right there.
It's a very intimate thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been more nervous than I was in that scene playing that song.
Were you more or less nervous when you did it live?
For some reason, playing music live to me feels a little bit more at home. But also, I don't know if I fully understood what that song meant to you, Neil. And knowing what it was going to mean now to other people once they played the game. And now there was context to it. Now there was story.
They care about each other so much.
The lighting. Lighting is so gorgeous here.
De fato.
And this was the same pun we had when you both did it live.
É hora de sempre, Tengu.
Do you remember the joke?
And you could see the shift in Joel. Like that song has just shifted the relationship a little bit. It moved the needle.
Mm-hmm. He's standing up a little taller.
It's time consuming.
His.
I love how much he's just trying to reach out to her on her terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Não é o saideira ainda.
Giving her space.
Não é.
Yeah.
I'll get that.
Yeah.
Can I get over?
And this again, this writing is the same. It's like how this ended was the same as the live version, where you just play the low E. Well, I guess with the capo it would be an E, but boom, and just let this ominous note linger.
Vai ter saideira. Supostamente. Assim que as pessoas chegarem para a saideira. Não vai ser rodinha de tatuagem ainda, não. Ainda. O centopeia humana da tatuagem.
Interesting parallel. In Last of Us Part 1, Joel wakes
Sim, Neil Druckmann, todo mundo sabe disso.
Was
up to a knock at the door.
Todo mundo sabe disso, Neil Druckmann. Você acha, porra, parece que eu nunca joguei, nunca ouvi você falando sobre isso. Nunca ouvi o 10 podcast do Jogabilidade.
To the end, we had to kind of, through exposition and dialogue, hint at what happened.
It was just Dina being Dina.
It's just Dina being Dina.
I was talking about your fight with Seth. Wait, you kissed Dina?
I love that scene kind of plays out like an awkward thing between them as if they had kissed last night, which is really funny.
Yeah.
You know, it has this like kind of morning after feel, but it's like not about them, which is really charming.
I would never.
Yeah, that's true.
This is so Ashley awkwardness right here.
I love it.
VV awkward. Like, don't point, don't bring attention to something that I did, please.
It's kind of fucked up you did that.
Jesse's the coolest guy.
He
Look at him.
is.
He's like, he kissed his girl, and he's like, I'm fine.
Yeah. Smells fine. Okay.
O foda é que até dar uns tirinhos demora, né? Queria dar uns bang bang. Podia ter jogado o No Escape, né? Acho que eu vou fazer isso. Eu vou jogar uns no escapezinho e depois eu continuo o jogo principal, porque senão... Não, é loucura da sua cabeça, Almighty. Não teria nem por onde convidar o Neil Druckmann pra gravar um Dash. Não, a científica já rolou. Ai. Manda uns zaps. Ah, eu tentei chamar o Rafael Grassetti, que é o diretor de arte do God of War 2018, não pra participar, mas pra dar né, conversar um pouquinho e salpicar a entrevista pelo Dash, mas não rolou. Sem volta. Continuar a sessão. Continuar a sessão. Aceito o zap do Neo. Isso, pra ele jogar um jogo show, exato. Participou de um Nightcast? Não sei. Mas faria sentido se tiver. Uou! Rifle semiautomático, munição de pistola. Ah, eu compro as coisas. Entendi. Receita de faca é bom, hein? Receita de faca é muito bom. Ammunitions. Serafitas ou infectados? Multiplicador de pontuação. Esse aqui é mais difícil, então. Ataques corpo a corpo incendeiam os inimigos. Uau. Vou fazer esse daqui, então, hein. Parece bom. Tem um man... Ah, eu desbloqueei o man, é isso? Vou jogar esse aqui, parece mais difícil. Pode chegar, Tengu. Traz proteção. Ah, o Man é amigo. Man é amigo, não comida. Eu gosto de todos os amigos da Abby. Todos. Nenhum amigo da Abby fez nada de errado. Nem ataco, exato. Que isso, não fala mal da Mel. Tô brincando, tem uns que são insuportáveis, de fato. A maioria, na verdade. Ah, eu gosto do Manny, gosto do Owen. Eu gosto da Mel. Eu gosto da Nora. Tem uns que não dá pra gostar, né? Tipo o Jordan, assim, que não é desenvolvido. Ai, caralho. O que aconteceu? Ah, é só sobreviver? Menina que foi X9 da Abby? Ah, Nora? Aqui, pera. É do hospital? É. A Nora. B? B? Aí eu não gostei, não. Por que que foi B? Ih, rapaz. Não, pera aí. Eu quero voltar. Eu quero ver... precisão, né? Talvez. Tiros na cabeça. Dano sofrido, ok. Entendi. Talvez pudesse ter abatido mais inimigos. Ok. É verdade, né? Chama sem volta.
All right.
Eu gosto da Nora. Eu gosto que no momento de... No momento de dificuldade, ela ainda provoca a Ellie. Acho correto. Acho belo e moral. Cura em acerto corpo a corpo. Fabricação mais rápida. Ímpeto. É. Vamos esperar. Lança-chamas. Bomba de PVC. Vou pegar a receita, né? Receita é bom. Receita é bom. Imagino que fique desbloqueado pra sempre a receita, né? Espero que não seja uma coisinha aqui, outra ali. Estabilidade. Cadência de tiro. Tá ótimo. Sabe, de uma besta, ou de um arco e flecha. Houses. Infectados? Quem que é? Quem são os inimigos? Serafitas. Ah, os serafitas são docinho. Parece bom. Vida inimiga reduzida. E aí, galera. Pera aí, turminha. Tá. O bom é que eu conheço os mapas, né? Uns mapas bons. O mapa aqui é maravilhoso. Acho que é um dos melhores mapas de Last of Us 2. Entendendo. Quem tá gemendo aí? Ninguém viu. Eita, não pula aqui não. Não pula não. Ninguém viu. Ninguém viu.
Scour everything. She's hiding somewhere.
Eu não.
Too close.
Podia pegar um tijolinho, uma garrafinha, né? Tão bom. Tão bom pegar um tijolinho, uma garrafinha. Mas tá me vendo? Caralho. Eu não. Tô aqui. Eles vão flanquear. Eles são espertos. Eles têm a maldade no coração.
There.
You better run.
Podia pegar essa garrafa aqui, né? Pra jogar na cabeça do inimigo.
Run while you can. Easy now. Don't try anything. Okay.
A gente achou uns itens aqui, umas garrafinhas, um negocinho. Pô, não tem nada. Explosivo. Tesourinha. É interessante jogar esse jogo sem saber exatamente onde estão os inimigos. Surpreendente. Você se surpreende assim no meio das aventuras. Ó, tem gente aqui. Pera aí. Era só eu mesmo. Ali, ó. Ah, se eu tivesse um arco. Não, não, não. Ninguém ouviu.
There you go.
Que? Pô, o melhor sistema de notificação de você estar sendo visto que existe nos videogames é esse aqui. É muito bom.
Root her out.
Não vira aqui não.
There she is!
Caralho, essa morte é nova.
You're finished! Coming for you. Fine, you wolf!
Porra. Você consegue criar, Abby? Você consegue criar algo e não apenas destruir, é? Tô muito desastrado. Esses serafitas são muito espertinhos. E, pô, nenhum tijolo, nenhuma garrafa nessa fase, é isso mesmo? Não gostei não. Ih, rapaz, tem heavy agora. Vou esconder melhor aqui. Ih, não tem como esconder. Aí fudeu. Já platinei. Você importa os troféus. Ah, caralho.
You know how this. Shut up!
Ah, puta.
Moving on.
Quer nem saber de nada. Que? Que?
Don't let her escape! In here!
Não é nem costa. Pra andar agachado assim é joelho. Ou o que tem que ter de joelho. Loucura. Ah, mas cada um vai ter a sua experiência, né? Se odiou, odiou, não tem o que fazer. Não, 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 não. Vocês estão me vendo? Ninguém viu. Absolutamente ninguém me viu aqui. Caralho, tô... Ué, mas você só engaja com arte que você concorda, Samir? Fica aqui a provocação.
Only when weak can we find our true strength. Shh, quiet.
Easy. Mole, mole, tatu.
Holy shit.
Mas ficar putaço faz parte. O que importa é provocar uma reação, uma sensação. Modificadores ativos? O que é isso? O que é modificador? Eu não tenho nenhum modificador ativo. O tempo também conta, né? É foda.
Pretty nice barracks, all things considered.
O Sushi tá jogando o Glóbulo Novo. E até o próximo vértice eu pretendo também. Pistola de caça. Armadilha. O silenciador é bom, hein? O silenciadorzinho. Compra uma armadilha explosiva também, né? Fazer o quê? Quanto custa isso aqui? Pode dar. 12. Escopeta de cano duplo. É foda. Isso aqui vai durar só nessa run, né? Aí eu fico com a minha pistola mesmo. A menos que tenha um negócio de enfrentar infectado. Estranho o Balfour, porque eu não acho que o The Last of Us, mesmo o primeiro, seja sobre o mundo, não. Ele é muito mais sobre as tretas das pessoas no mundo, desde o primeiro. Vamos pegar a escopeta, né? Já que estamos aqui. O André é o boneco menos jogado do Tekken. Triste. Muito triste, de fato. Tá, eu vou encerrar a live aqui, porque daqui a pouco o pessoal tá chegando pra saideira. Você que está aí em casa, vai chegar também para a saideira? Essa é a questão que eu te pergunto aqui nesse momento. Nesse nosso momento. Entendi, Balfour. Que acho que pra mim o mundo do Last of Us, apesar dele ter aspectos interessantes, é é a coisa menos importante, assim. Será velharia o saideira de hoje? Não. Se todo mundo conseguir vir, que ainda não é uma certeza, a gente vai fazer o jogo como é o jogo do Jogabilidade. Mas enquanto isso, eu vou ficando por aqui. Ih, não pode ver o jogo, não. Desculpa. Será que o The Last of Us na Europa ia ser bom? Pois é, esse tipo de coisa não me chama atenção em nada, não me interessa. Tipo, a ideia, nossa, um Last of Us na Europa. Se não for com pessoas. Tipo, pra mim o foco tem que ser as pessoas, a história. Onde quer que ele se passe. O cenário pra mim de The Last of Us é muito pouco relevante. Então, em breve, talvez lá pelas 7, 7h30, a gente entra aí pra um saideira. Eu quero que seja o de jogo como eu jogo, mas vamos descobrir. Qualquer coisa a gente continua o Castlevania, qualquer coisa a gente joga umas velharia. A gente vê isso daí. Até mais, gente. Obrigado pela companhia. Tchau, tchau.